Hi everyone, welcome. Please welcome with me Carla Smith from the UK. Carla has been living abroad for quite a few years already, has been living in the French Alps, is living currently in New Zealand, and will start her new adventure soon. What that means, she will tell us as well. But thank you so much for being here and having time to share your story, Carla. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. I'm so happy to be here. I'm so glad you reached out. I've been loving listening to your podcast, by the way. It's like a beautiful mix of stories and cultures and like experience. It's been so good. It's been so good. And I'm excited to share my story too.
Thank you so much. It's so nice to have you as one of them, one of the episodes where people hopefully can just, either relate to, learn something, feel like, okay, that's the push. And now I finally managed to get out of the door and book the
Yeah,
ticket or whatever it is.
100%.
Yeah, thank you so much. I am wondering, coming from the UK, what made you even consider leaving the UK and living in a different country and not just traveling around?
So, do you know what? It's so funny because I never cared about traveling growing up. I couldn't understand why people wanted to travel. I was like, what? Why do you want just go on holiday? Why would you want to go and live somewhere else that you don't know, like away
Yeah.
from your family? And then I was living in London. I was about 6 months out of drama school, so I'd just done my degree, and I unfortunately my partner at the time left me, and it left me so blindsided. And I was so upset. And like poor
Oh
20-year-old
no.
Carla was an absolute mess. I had a friend doing a season in the French Alps, a place called Maribel. He messaged me and he was like, "Carla, come out here for a week, blow off some steam. We'll party, we'll ski, it'll be amazing." So I popped out for a holiday to see him and basically never came back. I like didn't get on my plane back. I called up a load of places, managed to bag a job as a chalet hostess with like no experience. And
Wow.
that that was the ramp that led me to traveling. So truly before that I'd never even thought about it. I wanted to live in London. I wanted to be an actress and voiceover artist. And then going out for a week and I was like, wait, people are living like this? This is so fun. This is a whole different culture and I can live here. So yeah, after that, I promised myself it was just going to be that one season. Went back to London. Within a week, I'd got a job in the Channel Islands on a little island called Alderney. Promised myself that was it. Then did 5 more seasons in the French Alps and Alderney, and then decided to go to New Zealand. So nothing really,
Wow.
apart from that one thing, sparked it, to be honest.
It is crazy, but it totally makes sense, at least to me, that a life event that really messed up your whole world or the understanding of how your life looks like you might have already thought of how your life looks like with your partner at that time. And because that completely got crushed, like that idea of how your life looks like, and it's just your world is upside down, anyways. And I think a lot of people say just get out of your everyday life, your
Yeah.
routine, your environment. And even if it would have been just to go on a holiday, it definitely makes a difference to getting a clear head again and realizing, okay, what do I want? Where do I see myself? What is my next step? And that you ended up staying there because you liked it so much and you
Hmm.
actually realized a lifestyle away from London is possible is so cool because sometimes people think it's so hard. I will never find a job. I will never be able to go anywhere. I don't have the qualification. And it's just another really cool example that you don't need that to be able to live somewhere else. But
Yes.
how did you actually end up getting that job? Did they just interview or did they just see you were there? You seemed smart enough to do the job and then
Yeah, gosh, it was so it was so great. This is going back to like a whole different Carla, like a party animal, when I was like early 20s. But there is such a high turnover in like ski resorts of chalet hosts, chefs, drivers, etc. Because one, because of injury. There's so many people, you get a
Wow.
bit too excited on the slopes, and you get an injury and you get sent home. And that's what had happened in this case. So they were looking for a chalet hostess to start ASAP. And I think it was like the second or third company I called, and I just called and said, "Hey, like, I'm
Wow.
on holiday. I'm loving it out here. Any chance you've got any jobs going?" They said, "Yeah, we're actually looking for a chalet hostess."
Wow.
I met the resort manager in a local pub. We had a pint. And I think I was really open about the fact that I'd worked in bars, but this was a whole new world for me. I'd never even like, done anything chalet-esque. So I was really open about that. And they said kind of the passion that you've got to stay here is a really big thing that we're looking for. And the fact that you do have some hospo experience, and you're willing to kind of just try and hit the ground running, because we were 3/4 of the way through the season at that time. Um, and they hired me. So again, it shows that you don't need absolutely every qualification. You've just got to go and give it a go. You don't
Yeah.
need to, I'm a perfectionist. These days, I think everything has to be, the boxes have to be ticked before you can, try something new. But actually, you can just go make a few phone calls, give it a
Yes,
go,
yes.
start a new life.
Yeah, what I've noticed is that personality is sometimes so much more. If you are willing to be really honest, I think a lot of people look for honesty to trust a person and a personality that they can work with.
Yeah.
And I think because they say personality you can't train and you can't give someone, but you can train someone in skills or other things.
Mm,
Like you can learn so much, but personality you just can't. So I guess that's really a big lesson I feel like people should know about as well, even though it's not always easy. But since I
yeah.
am not a ski person, what does a ski chalet hostess do?
Yeah,
What is that?
absolutely. So, it kind of depends. There's different kind of levels of chalets and chalet companies. Like a kind of, you get your more budget ones and you get your high end ones. I managed to bag a job with a high end company. So in each chalet for us, there was a chef, a host, a driver, and then like a kind of a helper that did a little bit of driving and a little bit of hosting. So quite a big team for
Yeah.
usually like probably groups around 8 to 12 people.
Mhm.
And hostess job is to get up there early in the morning before the guests wake up, clear the bottles from the night before, set the table while the chef is getting breakfast ready, and then you serve the breakfast whilst trying to kind of pop up to the bedrooms and start cleaning the bedrooms. Then there's like half an hour of chaos while the guests are getting ready to go skiing. Once they've headed out, you clean the chalet top to bottom so it's nice and sparkly for them to arrive home. Then you get to head out for the day. So you get to head out skiing, you get to go and have a nap if you're a bit hungover, you get to go and have a lovely, long, cheesy lunch with your friends, listen to some live music, and then you head back into the chalet for evening service. So
Mhm.
you head back in, usually once the guests have kind of got home and had a bit of a chill out, and you're there serving drinks, and then you're helping the chef to serve like a beautiful 5 course meal and drinks and whatnot, and there for whatever else the guests need. It's an
Very
incredible,
cool.
it sounds like hard work, it is hard work, but it's so
Yeah.
fun, especially if you've got a good group of guests. Like that week is just so fun.
Yeah, it sounds like it. And as a personality that is outgoing, I think it's relatively easy then to enjoy this time as well. I can
Hmm.
imagine like introverts might have a little bit of a tougher time, but yeah, you can definitely make the most of it to have in between shifts or in between tasks like this break as
Yeah,
well and enjoy
yeah,
your time.
absolutely.
Really cool. And what we quickly talked about before we started this episode, you also started having your own podcast, baby, with a friend or Yeah, I assume you did it with a friend together,
Yeah, yes.
and you interviewed people on those ski resorts and places and chalets. And can you remember what was, in your opinion, the craziest story you've heard?
Oh, Hannah, that is such a hard question because we had so many crazy stories. We had to dedicate episodes to people's like anonymous stories that they could send in. It honestly, like, it's weird saying this in New Zealand because there's not so much of a huge drinking culture here, but there's a heavy drinking culture in like ski resorts. So there's a lot of like drink fueled shenanigans. I don't think I could say one specific story, but we actually did an episode with my first ever chef, so the chef that I got that job with, and she has done so many seasons. We actually had to do a two-part episode because it was just so full. She's worked in Canada, like all over the world as a chef for different places, and she's got some
Yeah.
hilarious stories. I can't remember any off the top of my head, but the podcast is full of mad stories because that's the kind of people those resorts attract.
Absolutely, yeah. So are these stories about the ski resorts and what you just said, like there's so much going on with heavy drinking culture, but it must have also its sides where it's not that fun, not that easy, and not just the happy phases. Can you tell us a tiny bit about those ones as well?
Absolutely. And this is a really, really important thing for me, especially towards the end of my seasons in Maribel. I noticed there was a tendency for a certain type of person that kind of was trying to maybe run away from something or like numb. With everyone should go and do a couple of party seasons anyway. But I really did notice that there was a lot of mental health. Kind of coming up a lot with different people that I was working with or different aspects because it's really, really full on. You are
Yeah.
working. The laws have changed now, or the rules have changed now, and you get 2 days off a week. But when I worked, if you worked in a chalet, you only had 1 day off a week, and you're going in
Hmm.
twice a day, and the rest of that time is, like I said, you're either out during the day on the slopes, and then there is a lot of drinking in the daytimes and evening, and it takes a toll on you. I was so that first season, I'd come from a really strict drama school where like there wasn't a lot of partying. It wasn't like a normal uni.
Yeah.
So I was really letting my hair down. But by the end of the season, I was like so fatigued. My mental health had taken a real like a real downturn. And going back each year, I had to kind of learn how to control that because there is that darker side of like actually you can be drinking too much and pushing yourself way too hard and really not getting enough sleep and all of
Yeah.
that jazz. So it's not just fun, you really do have to um look after yourself. And by the end, when I was going back, when I lived in France year round for that last few seasons, for the last few years, and life was a lot different, turning down the pub for just like a nice quiet evening in,
Yeah. Yeah.
it definitely is a learning curve. And I think that's the same wherever you go. You can get caught up in the excitement of it all, but actually at
Hmm.
some point you have to ground yourself and
Yeah.
remember
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
you're only human and there's only so much you can put your
Yeah.
body through.
100%. That is so true. Especially a lot of people use the fun and the alcohol also, as you said, like to escape something or
Hmm.
to numb something. And in the end, because you are still you and you are taking yourself with you wherever you go, even if you numb yourself in the moment, the next day when you are not or when you're sober, um, it's still there. And you
Exactly,
don't want
yeah.
to be drunk without end, right? So,
Mhm.
what would you think helped you most to actually take care of your mental health? Like you said, sometimes
Mm.
trade in like a night, a quiet night, but also were there any tools you were able to use later on where you thought, okay,
Yeah. Yeah, great question, and actually looking if I'm looking at my travels as a whole, mental health is really, really close to me, and something that I've always struggled with from a young age, but more so as I've kind of progressed as a person. I've become really passionate about sharing mental health, and like
Yeah.
just releasing that stigma around it is so important. And I think it goes hand in hand with traveling. There can be this really wonderful side of traveling, but you've still got your mental health, and it's like you said, like it's your body, and it's in the same way it's you. You've still got your same mind wherever you go.
Yeah.
Luckily, I was already doing a lot of work for my mental health. I think even back then, I'd sort of started therapy, but I think one of the big things is a support network, being open, like saying to people, and that's unfortunately one of the hardest things as well,
Yeah.
to just to let people know, like if I was having a bad time, I remember my second or third season, I had a real dip with my mental health at the beginning of the season. And I told my resort manager, I told my chef, I told all the guys I worked with and my housemates, like,
Yeah.
I'm just having a bit of a hard time, so I might not be myself. You
Yeah.
might just need to give me a little bit of grace. And even if they didn't quite understand, we were all quite young. I think
Yeah.
it really helps just to say, hey, if I'm not quite myself, there is a reason, like, and I asked you to understand that. And having friends back home, wherever I am, I know that I've got around the world now a support network that I can reach out to at any time. Um, Journaling and books really help me as well. I don't think I was so good at the beginning at watching how much I was drinking. I think that was probably my down. If I want to say I had that tool at the beginning, but I definitely didn't. But now, I'm okay. I had a pretty big, night out last weekend. Let's just keep it a little bit more chill this week, because even if it doesn't feel like it, subconsciously that alcohol is doing something to me. And
Yeah.
you can
Yeah.
have
Yeah.
your friends round for a movie and have just as good as a time as heading out and having a bottle of wine.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
having a big toolbox wherever you go, and knowing that it is there for when you do have those wobbly moments, which everyone has, especially when you move over the other side of the world, is so,
Yeah.
so important. And I would really recommend everyone to have that imaginary toolbox, alongside their their suitcase.
100%. I think because I'm a bit like you in that aspect as well. For me, it's really important to be open about my mental health and about mental health in general, because I also or struggled with my mental health when I was early 20s. And it was still that time where no one really wanted to talk about. And
Hmm.
especially the older generation didn't really think it's a thing. So for me, I felt still quite ashamed, and I only told the people that I really fully trusted.
Mm,
But slowly during the years after, I've noticed so many more friends were impacted as well. And I
yeah.
could then be there for them because I understood so much how it felt like and what helped me. And so I came to New Zealand, and I've noticed there is a big mental health issue here too,
Oh my God, yeah. Huge.
like very big. And I just loved being the one who was able to be very open and honest about it already. And
Yeah.
I think that helped my friends here. It helped me as well. And I just felt like we could connect on a very different and deeper level as well. Would you think the moment when you went to that ski resort, that was kind of in the first instant like an escape? But the decision then to come to New Zealand, that had nothing to do with like a breakup and you just didn't know where to go. What was your reason to come from that fun ski resort time? You were still young to coming to New Zealand at the other end of the world.
I think there were a few different factors that I really was settled in France. I'd got my French residency, and there was a part of me
Oh.
that felt like I was happy to stay there forever. But when you get something and you instantly don't want it anymore. I got my French residency, and then I was like, hang on, I don't want to settle. I've not seen enough of the world. Like, now that I kind of have done these baby steps and I have almost a comfort zone in going back and forward during the summers and winters. I know I can do that now. Like, what's the next thing I can do? What's the next part of, like, what else can I do? What am I capable of? And I was, even though I never had really had a passion for traveling, New Zealand had always been on my list to visit. I just thought the landscape looks so incredibly different than the UK. It was
Yeah.
something that I couldn't fathom and felt like I needed to see.
Yeah.
So, and at the time, the visa cutoff was 30, and I was
Yeah.
20, I would have been kind of 27 ish. And I almost got this itch of wanting to do the next thing, you know. Okay, I've done something
Yeah.
close to
Yeah.
home now. I want to do the next thing. I want to go further. And I
Yeah.
thought, God, if I want to kind of do Canada, Australia, New Zealand, I should start, 2 years ago, really, to get there before, like, the
Yeah.
visa cutoffs. So I just did it. I was like, okay, let's do it. Let's just apply. We'll see if I get the visa, and that'll kind of show my path. And I just applied and got a reply within like 10 days. I was so shook. It was just post COVID and they were just letting people back
Yeah.
in. Um, so yeah, I did. I think I needed to prove to myself that I could do the next thing and go alone somewhere across the other side of the world and tick off. Now that I knew I did like living somewhere completely new, and I could just go sort of by myself, make new friends, have a horrible couple of first weeks where you go, oh my God, what have I done? This is so uncomfortable. And then settle in. And I was ready to do it, yeah, on a bigger scale, I guess.
Yeah. I have so many moments from what you just said where I kind of, yeah, recall I had the same because I was also 27 at that time. I also felt like, because after traveling quite a bit and then traveling or going for a holiday by myself, and then, like, it wasn't quite by myself, but then I would catch up with a friend who was already in the country, but I had a
Yeah.
few days by myself.
Mhm.
And I feel like then my friends went overseas for a year, and I just thought, I need to prove to myself that I am able to do the next step and
Yeah.
to grow my confidence as well, and to live in a different country by myself. So just kind of similar experience
Yeah.
that you had, and also this little achievement, like you go baby steps and you feel braver and braver and you
Yes.
think like, okay, now I kind of can't go back anymore.
I totally agree. It is. And it's something to be so proud of as well, hey? Like, look at us.
Yeah.
We did the steps. That's so cool, hey?
Absolutely. And I want to come to one point as well, because you could have any time said, okay, I did it. I will go back to London now. But you didn't and you don't. And I want to come back to that as well. But I just wanted to ask you a couple more questions about your
Yeah.
time here in New Zealand.
Yeah, absolutely.
And did you notice any difference in mental health struggles or challenges in general from when you went abroad in Europe, you stayed in France, and then coming to New Zealand? Because I feel like mentally it's still a different thing to know you can be in a flight back home within
Yeah.
like 3 hours, or it's taking you 2 days even to go over.
Mhm.
Is there anything you have noticed from that difference from here and from Europe, but also just in age, like you have been older now? Are there different challenges because of who you are now, what you know now, and do you deal with it different as
Yeah.
well?
Totally. Um Perfect question, actually, because when I came to New Zealand, I had a really quite a bad mental breakdown. I don't quite know why still. And I don't like it when I don't know why things happen. I like it. I'm anxious, and if I really think about it, I know why. And I was really enjoying myself here. This is probably like the first 4 to 6 weeks that I was here, but I was incredibly anxious, so anxious all the time, just really, in that state where you're kind of on autopilot because your heart rate's
Mm,
kind of going and there's something, you're always in fight or flight. And there were times when I would just kind of start crying, and I'm like, why am I crying? Like, I'm
Yeah.
in New Zealand, I've made it. And there were these two really opposing emotions of like pride and excitement, and then just like really just fear and like unknown, some loneliness. Oh my God. And I was really hard on myself, as a lot of people with mental health
Yeah.
often are. And I booked a couple of therapy sessions with, I have a wonderful therapist back home, who luckily will, wherever I am in the world, will make time for me, and kind of booked in a couple of sessions with her. And she was, as you know, a fountain of knowledge as always. But she was like, Carla, what do you mean you're not sure why you're anxious? You've just moved literally as far as you can go from your home, from your friends and your
Yeah.
family. You don't know anyone. You don't know the people you're living with. You don't have a job yet. You don't know your way around. You didn't have data on your phone for a while.
Yeah.
You are in a completely new world by yourself. Yeah, that's going to shake anyone up, and have some compassion for yourself. I was
Yeah.
like, oh, okay. Yeah, no, that checks out. Everything is really scary. And being able to, I think the difference that how I would have reacted before is probably to run straight away. There was a time in Maribel where my mental health got bad, and I did go home for a week because it was so easy. And not
Yeah.
that that wasn't the right thing to do, but it was easy. But here it was like, can't really just pop home for a few days and hug my mum.
Yeah. Yeah.
So the ability to push through it and have like faith in yourself, knowing that you've done this kind of thing before, maybe not to this extent, emotionally, but you will get through it. And you've just got to have self compassion and try and just do it baby steps. Again, I'm a perfectionist, so I didn't like that everything wasn't perfect and
Yeah. Yeah.
easy and everything. Um, and then I'd also say the other time that that kind of thing has been quite prevalent is when there was some family stuff going on back home, family illnesses, or even in good ways, babies being born, and a lot of
Yes.
things happen in our family all at once, as it often does. And I just had never felt the distance like I did at that time. I've
Yeah.
never really, I do miss my family, as everyone does, but it's not like a heartbreak for me.
Yeah.
But that time I was like, oh my God, I want to be there so badly. Even the time difference, I was getting updates 12 hours after everyone else, which made me feel
You left
huge,
out.
left out, and like almost jealous that everyone was able
Mm.
to start grieving or being excited like 12 hours before me. That was
Yeah.
really really hard, and I didn't realize that that was something I could feel, and that, and it opens up another line of empathy. Like, wow, people that say they're homesick, that's probably what it feels like, and it hurt. But
Yeah.
again, tools that I didn't used to have is grounding myself, doing all that beautiful self compassion stuff, and in that toolbox, journaling, getting back into yoga, making sure I'm meditating, making sure I'm booking in the FaceTimes with the family back home, sending
Yeah.
little messages just to say, hey, thinking of you. I know it's 3 a.m., but like, if you've got time to send a voice note, it would be really comforting to hear your voice. Doing all that good self care.
Yeah, I can absolutely understand you so well. And
Yeah.
how you said, like, little things that you never thought you could be sad about
Hmm.
all of a sudden come up slowly. I remember because you said you were jealous sometimes. And oh my God, I don't know. I don't think I have shared that before, but I have my best friend and I know her since I am 15,
Hmm.
and she is part of my family, and I think my parents also see her as part of the family, and she's also really close to my brother because we just had so much time together, and because they lived in the same city they could spend time with each other.
Yeah.
And then at one point there was a family thing where maybe even my mom's birthday, where my mom and her boyfriend went to their city, and then they all did something together, and then they
Hmm.
sent me photos, and I should have been just like, "Oh, it's so nice." But it felt like a little bit of, yeah, that jealousy that I can't be
Yeah.
there. I can't be
Yeah.
with my best friend. I can't see my family. I can't spend the day with them. So those moments, or like even little things that my cousins have kids and the kids don't really know who I am,
Yeah, yeah,
like that
yeah.
really hit me hard. So this year I actually made an effort. I went back for Christmas and then I went back for 2 weddings, and my heart really was so full when my cousin's little kids remembered my name, and
Oh, yes.
I was so nice, and the little one came and yelled my name a few times and ran towards me, and I was like, "Oh,
Oh,
thank you so
that
much."
fills your cup, hey, I totally agree. It is those little
Absolutely.
sacrifices we have to make that you're allow you know, it's so valid to feel jealous, upset, sad, but it is part of the, the give and take of living across the other side of the world.
Absolutely. But you said something really important there as well, which is that self-compassion. Like, we know the word compassion and we always try to see it in the way how we see other people, or how we
Mhm.
relate to other people, or how we um, treat other people. But when it comes to ourselves and to have self compassion, I feel like a lot of people, or most of us, have problems with that.
Oh, yeah.
And we are so hard on ourselves, and just we are so critical as well, sitting down thinking, why am I anxious right now? Like, nothing really happened. What the heck is going on? But then really realizing you just did that massive thing of moving
Yeah.
so far away. And then luckily, thank God, you had someone to remind you on that,
Yeah.
and to kind of give you that little moment of, please just, have that self compassion and be kind and gentle to yourself, because that is what we need to be doing as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I totally agree. Not only, human beings in general, but especially as travelers. God, it's hard. You're on flights for however many hours. You don't know
Yeah.
anyone. You're in a new country. You need every traveler needs a big dose of
Yeah.
self-compassion. 100%.
Absolutely. And I think even then we can relate so much more to other traveler, and
Mhm.
we can be so much more compassionate to the people who might be a bit of a loner. Even if it's not a traveler, but just the fact that you know how it feels to be alone, to
Yeah.
be maybe excluded, or to not have friends yet. If you
Yeah.
see someone who is a little bit on the side, a bit introvert, maybe like a little outcast in a group, you can relate so much more and might
Yeah.
be the person who can, lift them up. Even if you
Yeah.
might not be their new best friend, but you can give them a smile, you can talk to them. And I think that's very beautiful as well, what we
Yeah.
learn from getting out in the world and being a stranger in a new country.
Yeah, that's a great way to put it. Yeah, you learn so much by being a stranger somewhere else, don't you? Yeah.
Yeah. Have you ever had like a negative experience coming to new countries from other people who have been living in that country?
Not particularly. I think France, the French culture isn't that warm and welcoming. And that was d difficult, but in such small chunks because it's such an English community there. But sometimes, things like trying to practice your French, and they just do not have time for it, and they just reply to you in English.
Yeah,
It's a
yeah.
b But I wouldn't say that was on, like, a huge scale because, it is such an English community. Alderney, when I moved there, the literal opposite, the most welcoming place I have ever, ever been. And if you are in France or the UK or you're ever in that part, you must visit Alderney because it's hard to explain without being there, but it's just a tiny slice of paradise with like a certain type of community. The community is so kind of intertwined and close. I always say this one story that from the first season I went, I did my first shift at the restaurant I was working at, and obviously met a handful of people, went home, and then I was walking down the street the next morning to go to my shift, and so many people said hi to me. They're like, oh hi, oh Carla, yeah, you just moved here. Hi. And I was like,
Mm.
I've never met you before, how do you know who I am? Or and it's just, that's it. Oh, there's a new person working at the pub, and there's such an influx of people in the summer because it's such summer tourism. it's so incredibly welcoming, and I've got lifelong friends now. And I go back next week. Actually, this time next week,
Yeah.
I will have landed back on Alderney, and I can't wait. And it's been, a year, but it doesn't matter because I know it's going to be welcoming.
Yeah.
And I think, gosh, I feel like I've sound really privileged in this for this question, but New Zealand wise, I was incredibly lucky to enter housing with two girls that were really, really open to inviting me into their friend groups and helping
Yeah.
me meet people. And I am so grateful for that. And I talk about it all the time that my experience in New Zealand would have been so different if I didn't quite quickly meet a really beautiful community of women here,
Yeah.
because we have a really lovely community. And just like you were saying, if there's someone new to town, they get added into this like Facebook group, and we do arts and crafts night. Or someone a few weeks ago said, like, I'm kind of new, I don't know anyone yet, would anyone be willing to have a coffee? And I was like, absolutely. I've been there.
Yeah. Yeah.
Let's just chat for an hour.
Yeah.
So I haven't had that kind of unwelcome feeling anywhere, but I can completely see how that would happen. I just feel very, very lucky in the communities I've entered that that
Yeah.
hasn't been the case.
Yeah.
And I'm aware that it could happen, in my future, and it is a fear, but we move.
Yeah, and I think, of course, it's fair to have a fear before it happens, but if you are capable of just, letting it come to you and you see how it's going and you don't fear what hasn't happened yet, which I feel like is the hardest
Mm,
thing. But
yeah,
yeah, as you said, like it hasn't happened to you yet, and it might be possible that that might happen to you eventually, but maybe not, Maybe
yeah,
you will
you're right, yeah,
always attract the right people into your life and you just have this amazing experience of people who are lovely, inviting you into their community and just make you feel welcome. So,
yeah, yeah.
yeah, we
Fingers
don't
crossed.
always both.
Manifest it.
Absolutely. I am still really curious about one fact. So, you
Yeah.
mentioned you were kind of wanting to stay in New Zealand, but because your visa is expiring, you now made the decision, drum roll, to go to Canada.
Yeah, incredibly
Yes.
bittersweet, but yeah, that's the plan.
Exactly. And that bit is sweet. I would love to dive a little bit into that as well, because
Yeah.
on one hand, being prepared or wanting to stay in a country, but on the other hand, not being able to just like that because of the visa conditions. I think there are a lot of people who have hopes and plans and dreams to stay in a place, but we sometimes forget how hard it can be to actually get a visa. We
Mhm.
talk about it as if it's nothing, and that's
Yeah.
just not true. And I consider myself incredibly lucky that I got the visa that I needed to stay here. But it is hard, and I have known also quite a few people that had to go back home because they couldn't stay. What is that feeling for you, or what was that feeling for you when you noticed, okay, my visa is expiring and there is actually not really a way for me to stay here? That first
Yeah.
moment, and then
Yeah.
how did you come around and how did you make it a positive feeling for the future?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm just gonna take some water and then I will
Yes.
reply. Mm. So it's actually not that my visa is expiring. It's that I can't afford to, with the prices going up, can't afford to apply for residency. So basically, I have a partner here who we met here, and he's on a sponsored visa and is able to apply for residency in January. So I never planned to stay in New Zealand, and then met my partner, and started having this great community, and definitely not staying. Went to, oh, maybe like New Zealand's lovely, I would maybe stay, to oh wow, I really want to stay. Like, actually,
Yeah.
maybe it is possible. My partner can apply for residency in January, all of this. And that's kind of where we were going. We moved in together and we thought, great, let's start kind of saving up to try and get residency. And it almost, you open these floodgates of like allowing yourself all of a sudden to actually dream. You have these
Yeah,
flickers
yeah.
of like, wow, it would be great to stay here, but I can't. And then it becomes possible and you're like, oh my god, dare I dare I like think about 2 years? And
Yeah.
I don't know, starting, I've always, from the moment I got here, I was like, I'd start like an adults drama group here because there's not that. And you
Yeah.
start thinking about laying roots, and that's a really scary and vulnerable thing to do. And we did that. And then, unfortunately, in September, I had a bike crash and got a really bad concussion and
Oh.
haven't been able to work properly since. And I've only been on really small hours and still 9, 10 months out. I'm only on part time. And financially, I'm just drained. And I think I was living in a bit of a fairy tale world and hadn't really put pen to paper and thought, hang on my income now, what are we really looking at? And unfortunately, I'd have to link to my partner's accredited visa first, and then we'd have to do residency. And I'm looking at about $7,000. And you know, I just don't have it. Um, since the crash, that's just so out of my, out of my reach at the minute, that
Yeah,
it kind
yeah.
of just hit me one day. I was literally writing it down, budgeting, and I was like, "Oh my god!" And Canada had always been something that I was still on the list. It had to be done. And I was like, "Hang on, if I'm like trying to get out of debt from getting this visa in a year or so, Canada's off the table. There's definitely no way I could save for Canada." And I was like, "And I don't really want to live like thinking, oh, can I get my daily coffee, or will my card get declined, or having
Yeah,
to
yeah,
borrow
yeah.
like money from my partner or my parents." I was like, actually, what kind of life am I living? Yeah, I'm living it in a wonderful place, but I'm not living it to, the fullest, because I'm constantly, unsure of financially. And it just sort of hit me. And I thought, actually, I cannot stay. There's no
Yeah.
feasible way that in the next year or so I'm going to have that money. Um, so it was, oh my god, it was horrible. It was so horrible. And I had to tell my partner, and sit him down and be like, hey, I can't get residency. And he's so happy here. So we had to make the really difficult decision
Yeah,
that
yeah.
he'll be staying and I'll be going, and we'll be like parting ways in November, which is so horrible to have to go through.
Wow. Yeah.
And we are dealing with the best we can, and we're doing what's right for us. And then I had to tell all my friends, and that was heartbreaking. And then I'm a cleaner here, so I had to message all my clients and then tell my mum. And every time I said it over and over again, it was like breaking my heart. And I was
Oh,
really,
yeah.
really, really down for a good week or so. I just felt incredibly grief stricken, just so sad, so like angry, like, this is so unfair, like, why isn't it easy to
Yeah,
get your
yeah.
visa? Why is it so much money? Um, and then the idea of going back to the UK just did not, I don't see myself moving back. Sorry, mum, but I don't ever see myself moving back to the UK. It's just not for me.
Yeah,
The moment
yeah,
I lived next to mountains, I knew that's where I needed to be.
yeah,
So that added another layer of like, oh my God. And I was like, okay, right, what can we do? Like, I have to look forward to something in the future. And I thought, okay, maybe we go home for a little bit and then we give Canada a go. It's it is where, the next place on my list, or it has been for years. Maybe that's what it is. Maybe fate is telling me it's time to go over and do that instead.
yeah, yeah,
And that kind of really helped, when you're going for a bad time in any situation, or whatever, at whatever level, having something to look forward to,
yeah,
putting your hopes and, a little bit of future there really, really helps. So
yeah,
that's helped monumentally, just looking at pictures of Canada, being like, oh, maybe I'll do a little road trip once I've like saved up some money back home. Where would I want to live? Where is like Wanaka in, where will I enjoy? Starting to reach out to friends that have, visited Canada or live in Canada, being like, what do you
yeah,
think?
yeah,
Where do you think I'd enjoy? Like, those little
yeah,
sparks of hope in that horrible, dreary gloom is just so important. And, even if I was only able to go back to the UK, I'd find a way to get excited in that prospect. Okay, maybe
yeah,
I'll start a new group or start a new podcast, something passionate, or go
yeah,
to a
yeah,
ladies' night. How can I make UK exciting?
Yeah.
How can I get excited for that and not just sit in this horrible depression? So it's
Yeah.
been really, really difficult, to be honest. It's been a really
Yeah.
sad time. And one day I'll feel okay. And the next day I'm absolutely heartbroken that I'm leaving. And then I'm excited for Canada and a huge
Yeah.
mix of emotions. Um, but, like you said, it's not like not everyone can stay. It's not on the cards. It's not a given. And to have had my 3 years here, I've got to be like so grateful that I was able to do that. And a reality check. It's part of traveling. You're not just allowed into any country and allowed to stay there. And
Very
I'm
true.
grateful for what I've been able to do and incredibly privileged. So,
Yeah.
you take it all in your stride and turn it on, find the good bits in it.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
and I've had friends that have gone through it as well, and we're in exactly the same position. So I reached out to them and just,
Yeah.
it's nice to not feel alone in any one situation.
Yeah. Yeah. That is so
Yeah,
true, especially when you can talk to someone who has experienced the same or similar things.
exactly.
It
Yeah.
helps a lot. How, may I ask, how is this working out for you in your relationship then? Is that
It's
something?
it was really hard. There was a few days where it was just so awkward and weird and horrible. He was heartbroken, I was heartbroken. It was horrible. It was really, really, like after you've like had a big fight and it's awkward to
Yeah.
talk to
Yeah.
each other
Yeah.
and you're
Yeah.
like, how do we normally talk to each other? This is odd.
Yeah.
But I think, I was really Canada was always on the cards for me. And even when we first started dating, I didn't plan to stay in New Zealand. So this
Yeah.
isn't like the biggest thing in the world. It wasn't just completely unprecedented, but we talked about, what's right for us. Do we stay
Yeah. Yeah.
together until November? Do we rip the band-aid off and break now, which is so hard because there's so much love and it's
Yeah. Yeah.
hard to break up when there's love and you can't just feel really angry at each other for someone doing something
Yeah.
wrong. But it's been a lot of, for me, again, self-compassion. It just
Yeah.
comes back to that.
Yeah.
My partner deals with things in like different ways. Exercise really helps, and diving into his job really helps, and making sure that he's talking to friends as well. And
Yeah.
same with me, friends checking in, like, is it okay? And some days yeah, and some days no, like any
Yeah.
difficult time in a relationship.
Yeah.
um and again, I reckon there's people listening that have traveled and had exactly the same thing, fallen in
Yeah.
love over the other side of the world, and then one person has to leave for one reason or another. Relationships end. And I've had, again, grateful for the time we've had together, but it is
Yeah.
what it is. It's not it's almost easier that it wasn't a decision. Like when I looked at the numbers, I was like, there is literally no way I can stay, which almost helped a bit.
Yeah. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
have to go.
Crazy. Yeah. It's crazy how external things can sometimes decide where our life takes us. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. Thank you so much for being so open and vulnerable about your mental health, about your stories of when you were struggling, about your relationship. And just that sentence that you said, you would just make everything that comes next exciting so that you
Yeah.
can look forward to it. I think that's such a big help for everything. And we need to remember that we can probably find a good thing and an excitement in everything we do. We just need to kind
Yeah.
of want to see it and want to make it work. And
Yeah, I totally agree. Yeah, that's a great way to look at it. Always find a tiny glimmer of excitement and hope. Yeah.
yeah, so thank you so much. I really love that you were sharing your story and just have that shift of mindset, even with thinking you will end up living in London forever. And now being like, I really can't imagine myself living in London anymore.
Yeah. Yeah, I
So
hate it when I go back there now. Wild.
I feel like sometimes along the way, adventurer are born. Like,
100%. Yes.
right?
Stepping out of your
It's
comfort zone, it is like a new layer each time. Yeah, totally.
absolutely. I usually end every episode with quick 3 questions, and I
Mm,
will just keep it really short as well. But yeah, question number one: what do you actually miss from the UK all the time when you are away?
cheese. I've been ready for these questions and I've thought about it. Cheese. Good cheese.
Yes. Goat cheese. Wow. Very good. Very good. I hope you didn't listen to only the old episodes because I changed the questions a little bit
No,
later
no, I've
on.
listened to lots of them, yeah, I was ready for that.
Oh, you're so sweet. Goat cheese. Wow. Funny. Okay. Question number 2. What advice would you give someone to just, leave the country, or a big change in their life, or with dealing with mental health, especially while traveling or being on the road?
I think 2 small bits. 1, just do it. Just stop waiting, stop trying to make everything perfect before you make the jump. Do it. You can tidy it up and make it perfect afterwards. And 2, self-compassion.
Yeah, yeah.
Learn about
Perfect.
self-compassion. Google it, learn it, practice it.
Perfect. I love that. And it's so true. Yeah. Okay, last question. Is there anyone you think should be on this show and should share their story?
Yes, 2 people, sorry, I know that's not
That's
So,
fine.
one is my friend Leah, she's from Germany and she lives in, Wanaka now, and seeing her get her residency was so life-changing, and she was so emotional and excited about it, that I just feel she's got a beautiful story to tell. And
Yeah.
then there was another one that I thought of when I used to do my podcast. We had an older lady message and say that she's always wanted to do a ski season, but went down the route of having family and kids. And listening to our podcast made her want to do a ski season again. And then she went and did one. And I think probably that is an incredible story to hear about
Wow.
and share from a totally different angle and a different age.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh my God. Thank you so much. And yep, that would be very interesting to hear a story from a person who didn't do it when she wanted to, and then later on just says, it's never too late. That is
Yeah.
very cool.
Yeah.
All right, Carla, thank you so much for your time. It's been a bit more than I usually go for, but I just wanted to hear it all. So thank you so much for sharing and for spending the time. Oop, sorry. For, for spending the time talking to me, sharing your story, and yeah, being that open.
Yeah, thank you for giving people a platform and an open, safe space to share their stories and come together and share stories and culture and advice. It's beautiful. It's lovely.
Thank you. I love it. And I'm very grateful for everyone who decides to be on the show as well. And yeah, as always, I'm hoping that someone who is listening or watching is able to learn something, feel something, and take something from it. So thank you so
Hmm.
much. And I
Thank
hope I
you.
hear you next time. Bye.